Hey, it's Rob. Welcome to Axel's Garage. This is a twilight episode of Axel's Garage because I'm trying to beat the sun, but I have crazy neighbors. But wheel hub, wheel bearing, wheel hub. All right, here's the deal. We did a step-by-step install on doing a front wheel bearing or wheel hub, whatever you might call it, on a 2000 to 2006 Suburban Tahoe Silverado truck, GMC truck, full-size vehicles like this one here. And we did it on the passenger side. I'll put a link to that up there. That video is probably about 2 years old now. Then back in January of 2018, we had a wheel hub go bad on this side, and we did a video of how to diagnose that wheel hub and how it could give you a false diagnosis if you don't take that axle nut off. And I will put a link to that video right here, so you can check that one out. Now, we determined that this wheel hub was bad back in January. My son was going to take it down to school in Virginia, so we didn't really have time to fix it, so I sent it over to a guy that does some work for me. Not a shop or anything, just a guy that does some work for me. And I went on Amazon and I bought a cheapo Chinese wheel hub. Now, don't call me a racist. I know somebody's going to call me a racist, but it was a made in China cheapo wheel hub. Now, we've been lucky with a lot of the made in China stuff on Amazon that we've been ordering, but we put this wheel hub in and we're at about 6,000, maybe 6,500 miles, did 2 oil changes on it, and I have a screaming wheel hub. I think it's on this side, and we're going to check it out and see if it is. I did buy another one on Amazon, but I didn't buy the Chinese one. I bought a Timken. You can get a Timken, you can get a Moog, you can get a Delco replacement. Everybody always said when you're replacing wheel hubs, replace them with a good quality hub, either a Timken, Moog, or a Delco replacement. I've had such good luck with those Amazon cheapos. I said, let me go with an Amazon cheapo, and like I said, 6,500 miles, and that was 3,000 highway miles, and then 3,000 or 3,500 or so of mixed miles. But we did take 3 trips with the truck back and forth up and down the coast, so we know we got 3,000 solid highway miles, and we got a screaming bearing. And so we're going to take it apart and we'll see what it is. Alright, so your first step here is to take your center cap off if you have one. And then it's a 36mm socket. I put it on a breaker bar. You got to leave the wheel weighted on the ground to get this nut off, but you want to take your axle nut off. Tight that fucking guy made this. Huh? Tight that guy made this.
You okay?
Yeah.
I just broke. Okay.
Broke the tool. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Holy shit. Alright, so in all transparency, I tried to crack that thing loose, the axle nut loose off camera. It's only supposed to be torqued like 150 foot-pounds, I believe. I didn't look it up yet. But I put a breaker bar on it, then I put a pipe on the breaker bar, and I can't budge the thing. So now we're going to go full redneck, and we are going to break another tool. We'll break this thing loose. Something's gonna break though. Either way, we'll break something. It's not supposed to be this tight. All right, that didn't work. So I can't get this thing off. I tried with the breaker bar and the jack handle onto the breaker bar. Didn't budge. Right? And we put it around the other way. And no, with the breaker bar and the jack handle, I had a little like 1-inch extension. Stopped the 1-inch extension. So then we went with the floor jack, the one underneath, and all that did was bend the breaker bar enough where the whole socket and everything popped off. So now we're going to go heat. I'm running out of options because this thing's not budging at all. I don't know how it's on there so tight, or if the bearing is that wiped out that it heated it up. I don't like to use heat in your bearings, especially on the other side of the axle. You got the CV joint, the aluminum wheel. I'm completely running out of options, so I'm going to go with heat. Yes? All right. That's working. And the heat worked. Alright, so before that warms up, or cools off rather, and it's off. Alright, so just like in our video of diagnosing, we're just going to take this, and we're just going to tap it so that the splines coming through aren't hooking that bearing tight, and we're going to jack up right to that off the ground. Alright, I can feel it rocking back and forth. I hear it. But I could definitely feel the shake in the bearing. It's not as bad as that other video, but it's definitely moving side to side that way. And I can feel a little shake in it. Not nearly as bad, but when you spin it, you could hear it. So, let that be a lesson to you. No Chinese bearings. Alright, so now we got the axle nut, we got the washer. Oh, it's still hot. Right, what I did do off camera, just for shits and giggles, being that this one didn't have as much play in it as I expected it to have, I went over, I took the axle nut off the other side, which came off very easy with just a breaker bar. No jack, no pipe. And jacked it up and just checked that one. That one is snug as could be. There's no play whatsoever. So I know that this is the bad one. This is the one we thought was bad. This is the newest one that's been replaced. Like I said, 6,500 miles. So now we jack the car up. We will pop the wheels off and get started putting this bearing in. Now, as I was saying, could everything being too tight, the axle nut being too tight, lead to premature bearing failure? I don't know. If you know, let me know. Leave something in the comments below. I don't think so, because that axle nut isn't compressing the bearing at all. I don't think. I don't know. Alright, so in order to get the bearing, which is right here, this piece is the whole hub assembly out, we need to take the caliper off, and we need to take the caliper bracket off so we can get the rotor off. There's 3 bolts that hold in the hub assembly. Take those 3 bolts out, bang it out, and your ABS cable, disconnect that. So that's what we're going to do. Alright, so I'm going to put some gloves on so I'm not filthy. This really isn't a step-by-step. If you need a step-by-step, just refer back to that first video. But to Torx, it's a big Torx. It is a 55, T55 for the caliper bolts. Alright, so see how tight he made everything. Jesus. Holy cow. Alright. Oh. It's gonna make me work tonight. Oh. Holy shit. You gotta be kidding me. They're caliper bolts. Holy shit. God. See, the problem is,
What?
when you make something this tight, my wife is answering. You listening?
You're talking to me.
When you make something this tight, it's a Torx headed bolt. You're going to wind up breaking sockets, stripping bolts, stripping the heads off. There's no reason for it. Tim, I hope you're watching this video, Tim. This shit is way too tight, Tim. Did you ever hear of Torx specs? Alright, so the caliper bolts are out. Now, we're going to pop the calipers out of the brackets, and then we got to get at the bracket bolts, which usually are normally a pain in the ass. So, let's see how easy this caliper comes off. See, and now it's dark, pretty dark, and I hate working in the dark. My eyes don't work well anymore anyway, and I gotta do this crap in the dark. Alright, so you got 3 bolts on the back. I believe, if memory serves me correctly, they are like 18mm bolt heads. Let's see. Here's an 18. Yep, 18s. So, knowing that Tim had previously worked on this vehicle, what we will do is start out with a breaker bar. Okay, one there, and I got one up here, and I'm looking straight into the flashlight. I'm blind. And I got one there. Now these bolts, the 18mm heads, supposed to put a little Loctite on them. So when you put them back in, give the threads a little wish with a wire toothbrush kind of thingy. Let me move the camera so you can see what I'm doing. These big ones right here, coarse thread with Loctite on them. They hold the caliper bracket. The caliper bracket also holds the brake pads. I never did this without taking the brake pads out. That's why I left them in, just to see if I could pull it all off in one shot. See what happens. Alright, so there's your caliper bracket. Brake pads staying in there, so I'm going to leave them in there. Get them out of the way. Pull your your rotor off. Set that to the side. Alright, and this is the hub assembly that we're replacing. There's a bolt there, there's a bolt there, and there's a bolt on the other side. And that's what we're going to do. Looks like 15 millimeters is going to do it. 15 millimeter it is. Alright, so 15 millimeter. Now the problem is, you got to put a little extension on it because you're not going to be able to get your ratchet on because it's going to hit that thing there. Alright, there's these bolts right here. They look clean, they don't get any Loctite. Alright, that one, I don't know how I got a socket on that one the last time, I don't remember. I think I used an opening wrench. Alright, I'm going to turn the wheel around the other way so I can get the other one out. Alright, so working on this side, it's the same as that first one I did, only backwards. Right up against the boot, so you put your socket on. Grab it loose with the breaker bar. Now is the hard one, which is the top one, and the reason what makes it hard is that it comes into contact with the ball joint bolt. So I think what I do now is let the car sit on jack stands with the suspension hanging, and by either jacking up or down the suspension, you should be able to give yourself a little bit more clearance. Alright, so I grabbed the 15 and an 18. I'm going to put the 15 on here like this. I'm going to put the 18 on here like this. And I am going to see if I can break it loose. Now hopefully it didn't slip. I can feel it. It feels like it did. But it did slip. Because Tim chewed up this bolt. And now we're going to have a problem. Because Tim is a fucking hack. Tim, you're a fucking hack, Tim. Holy fuck. How did you fuck up my bolt head so much? Alright, so what I did was I hammered the socket in between the CV boot collar and that ball joint bolt. Let me show you. See the socket right there? I hammered it in. Let me get another extension. See if I can get this. Yeah. Tip definitely made things harder than they had to be. Alright, so here's our shitty hub. Let me just hang my caliper for a minute so I can come over here and unplug my ABS. Hook here. That's plugged in. Connections here. So these are all just clippy dippies holding the ABS wire in. So let me undo that little flathead screwdriver, and then you got your, right up behind this piece of plastic is your connection for your ABS wire. So I'm going to take that ABS wire out, like I said. Little mini flathead screwdriver to pop the clips off, and then the wire connection, and then you can pull this whole thing off. Well, if there's one thing right that Tim did, was he put some white lube inside where the hub sits in here, which allows the old one to come out a lot easier. And when you're doing these, and you'll see if you watch that first video when I did the other side, sometimes you really got to pound that hub out in order, because it just rusts up in there. And you know, like I always say, put a little lube on it, make it easier for the next guy, because that next guy might be you. Well, in this case, the next guy's me again. And I was on track to get this done in the hour and a half that I told my wife. But off camera just now, which you missed, it's like 2 or 3 hours later. That's why it's completely dark now. I got a phone call from my brother who lives 50 miles away that my mom, who's 90 years old and lives a half mile from me, was having chest pain. So she calls my brother up instead of calling me up, because she didn't want to bother me because I just got home from work. I live a half mile away. He lives 50 miles away. So he called me, and I went over there, and we got the guys from the local fire department to come over and check her out. It turns out that she pulled a muscle. So it was just a muscle pull, and I'm back here 3 hours later, and I'll show you a picture of my mom with the 2 strapping firemen that checked her out. So there you go. There's my 90-year-old mom who pulled the muscle. Guess what she was doing? She was cleaning the garage door. Yes, she felt the garage door was dirty, and she cleaned it inside and out and pulled the muscle. 90 years old. Time to start taking it easy, Mom. So, back to this. Alright, so, this hub here, and the wire for your brake, anti-lock brake to go in, and this is the area that needs a little bit of lube. And really, all you need to do is just take some white grease and paint it around like that. And what I also like to do is just get a little white grease on the splines on your front half axle shaft here, just like that, so nothing rusts together. I really don't have to put too much on here because there's fresh lube on it from it being done so recently. Alright, and then we just find your spot. Oh, what did I do? Forgot something. You need your backing plate. Plate is on just like that. Now we can slide it Alright, now it's not sliding all the way in, and the reason that is because remember that top bolt is kind of wedged in here, so we're just going to slowly turn that ratchet and turn that top bolt in, which will suck this whole assembly in. Nice and easy. Now before you get anything tight, it would probably be in your best interest to take the other bolts and just get them started while you still have a little way. Drive this one home the rest of the way. Everything we got 2 out of the 3 in there, so everything should be lined up well. Okay. Now, the challenge is going to be getting these parts apart, because if you remember, we kind of hammered them in to get them in there to fit. Alright, so there's our extension. Now we just got to try to get that socket off. Alright, the socket, put it on my lower extension. Here we go. So being that we're 3 hours behind schedule or so, that was my son in his K5, you could tell from the exhaust. He's bringing my wife to the event that we're both supposed to be at, and I'm going to get there a little bit later once I wrap this thing up. I'm even going to drive this car then. Okay. Got that one in there nice and tight. While I'm over here, before I move the wheel, I could take the ABS cable and I could pop it into this, fitting here. Right like that. This way it's in there. It's got a little piece of tape on it. Coiling it up. Alright. Uncoil it. Alright, so now with the wheel turned the other way, I knocked out that little plastic tit that was left over from the old thing. Alright, so there's our ABS wires connected there, and I plugged it in and put it into its little holder up there, and the ABS wire is connected. Now I've got to take the last bolt, goes back in this corner, get it started by hand. Actually, it goes all the way in by hand, nice and easy. Big dummy's back with this K5, as you can hear. Squeaky brakes. We'll be getting to that soon too. Alright, and I'm going to take my caliper, put that up out of the way, and we can put the caliper bracket back on. So what we're going to need to get the caliper bracket back on is those two bolts with the 18mm heads. Right? We'll clean them off with a little wire brush, and then we'll put some fresh Loctite on them and we'll zip them through. Alright, so I went over to the wire wheel side of the bench grinder, cleaned up those threads. Now I am going to take a drop or two of Loctite and put it on the threads. Take the caliper bracket and slide it back on exactly the way it came off, which is like so, like this. The bolt goes through the back. Oh, wait. You guys almost let me put that on without putting the rotor on. Alright, we got our power stop rotor. Put that on. Now we can put the caliper bracket on. That would have really sucked if I would have got this caliper bracket all the way on and tightened up and not have the rotor on there. How many people are yelling at the screen right now saying, no, the rotor? Right. So I started them by hand. They're by 18mm. Put it on the breaker bar. Just give it a little oomph. Make sure it's to the proper torque spec, which is good and tight. Hear that, Tim? It's good and tight, not as tight as I've mother effer made anything in my entire life. Just good and tight. My piston on my brake caliper shouldn't have moved, So this should slide right back down over it. What you're going to do is watch out for your rubber boots there. Alright. Maybe a little persuasion with a hammer. There you go. Alright. And I can take my caliper bolts, which still had good lube on them because this wasn't done that long ago. Not sure whose idea it was to use Torx or Allen on caliper bolts. Why can't you just use a regular headed bolt? It'd be so much easier. So after you got your caliper bolts in, you could start putting your axle nut on actually. Alright. Really hated the way this thing came on and off, so I'm just gonna put a little bit of lube on that as well, just to make it go on a little easier. Alright, don't forget your washer, your axle nut. We're going to buzz it on with the impact, and then after the wheel's on and it's down on the ground, we'll torque it to 150 foot-pounds. Same thing, a little bit of white lube right around the hub and the rotor, so you don't get any corrosion. We'll put a little on all the plug nuts. Alright, be nice to the next guy. Next guy might be you. Alright, so I got the torque wrench. We got it set to 150. On that nut there. Oh, 150. Right, and the studs, a little 110. All done in what would have taken an hour and a half, maybe an hour 45, because Tim had to over tighten every bolt on the vehicle. Again, the links to those other videos back at the beginning I pointed up somewhere, and I made them clickable. Check them out. How to check if you got a bad wheel bearing, how to put one on in a really detailed start to finish with decent lighting, not getting dark. Alright, what did we learn? We learned that the cheapo Chinese eBay and Amazon wheel bearings or hub assemblies, whatever you decide to call them, suck. 6,500 miles and it's wiped out. Probably went out at about 5,500 because I started hearing it on the last trip. We went down to Virginia. Started hearing it a little bit on the way there, the way back a little bit more, and then the more we drove it around at home, it got worse and worse. Sounded really, really bad. When we took it apart, it wasn't as much play in it as I would have expected to see, but there was some play, and it was bad. It probably would have seized up. Now, Timken. We use Timken. The other recommended brand is Moog, or getting a Delco replacement. I don't know where any of them are made, but Timken, made in the US of A. Alright, well, that's what it says on the box at least. We'll see. Hopefully, oh, it's even got installation guidelines. Alright, so we learned when it comes to the front hub assemblies, don't gamble on the cheap Amazon Chinese shit. What else did we learn today? We learned that if you have a mother who is around 90 years old, like my mother, and she still lives in your childhood home by herself, get her a cleaning lady. Have her stop cleaning stuff. She, over the last 3 or 4 days, she cleaned the basement. Today she scrubbed the kitchen floor and cleaned the bathroom. And yesterday she went out into the garage, which her garage is my storage garage, to clean stuff. Is she going to set up a card table in the garage and have ladies over and start playing cards? Why is she cleaning the garage? She washed the garage door inside and out, 90 years old. And now she wonders why she has pain. And it's pain like it's in her ribs, like she pulled the muscle from reaching and wax on, wax off. You know, that kind of thing. I think if I worked as hard as she does sometimes, I would be in pain. And she's a lot older than I am. So those are all lessons for today. Hope you enjoyed the episode, or episode video, whatever you want to call it. Hope you enjoyed what we did today. This cluster that is sometimes Axel's Garage. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. Go check on your moms. And as always, thanks for watching.